Hi, I'm Alex. Today we're going to be covering a topic that pops up a lot with a lot of young or newer writers. Even I myself struggled with this when I started writing, and that's where to get ideas for your stories. And the first thing I'd like to say is that it is very, very dependent on what you like and what genres you want to write in. I write a lot of fantasy, so that's where a lot of this is going to focus. So, the first place I started looking when I wanted ideas was with mythology. Mythology provides not only a lot of ideas, but a good springboard for writing because a lot of the stories are old enough or vague enough that you can start doing retellings if that's your thing, or if you're just getting into writing and you want to try writing. But I looked at mythology for a lot of my influence. Without getting into too much detail of it, I actually have a series of books that I'd like to work on that I did start. The overarching title being The Shards of Ragnarok. Already sensing the mythology there, I'm sure. Each book deals with a different mythology. Currently being Norse, which is where the title itself comes from, Greek, and Celtic mythologies. Some of the reasons you may look to mythology for inspiration is you want to do a retelling because you feel certain personalities or characters within the original story did not get developed enough, or that may have had a unique perspective on what was going on in the myth that didn't get explored. You may want to expand on a story that was short. It got its point across, but you felt there could have been more going on in the background or after the story itself happened. You may also be inspired to write something based on the idea that a story could, maybe you find a story in mythology that is still very relevant today, so you want to bring it into something that's more understandable. Or maybe, and this is what actually inspired some of the Ragnarok stories, there is a certain character in mythology that you feel should have had a happier ending than they did, and you want to fix it. Mythology just provides a really nice springboard of ideas. If you like action, there are action stories. If you like romance, they've got it. There is something for everyone in terms of genre if you want to be inspired by it. I personally like using mythology as retellings, but you can pretty much go wherever you want. Another place I get my ideas is actually from characters. I know a lot of writers will start with a story idea and then build characters to fill the scenes. I actually go the other way. I tend to come up with characters and then need to build the world around them. Perfect example of this is a story I started writing last year, maybe the year before, not entirely sure, which was part of my Mages and Muses series. I had come up with several characters and realized that if I wanted to use them, I needed to have a world for them to exist in. In that respect, your characters will greatly influence what the world is like, and it's very possible that in between creating the characters and creating the world, you'll go, oh, well, if they're going to be in this world, they need things to do. And then it will just kind of spiral into the story that you want. Or maybe while you're creating the character, you'll just get this random idea and go, oh, wait a minute. That's a thing. Write it down. Trust me, write them all down. The other thing, if you're like me and you have these slew of characters, you could sit there and do little I hesitate to say use prompts, but in essence, write little things about the character and let them decide, oh, hey, I'm the type of person who would go and do this. Well, then let them go and do it. You may find those little bits and pieces end up kind of coming together into a whole story, or may inspire you to write this big thing. Your characters inevitably will tell you what they want. Maybe not right away, and maybe not in the most obvious ways. Another place I get my ideas from is music videos. And that sounds really weird, like, well, aren't you just stealing ideas? Now, hear me out. For my current story, Blood Brothers, it was entirely inspired by a music video. The music video had nothing to do with what this story's like. It actually feeds back into my last idea about creating a story. I was watching a music video, and I went, wow, that seems kind of vampire-y. So I sat down with it, watched it a couple times because I liked the song and I was going to watch the video anyway. And I saw very distinct characters popping up in the video. Or at least what I saw as distinct characters. So I wrote down the traits I was seeing. Oh, there's one that's opposed to violence. There's the leader who is a scientist. Oh, here's one who's a musician. And I went, okay, I have these individual characters. And I went, okay, they're vampires. They're violent. Oh, look, guns are a thing that pop up a lot. And I started, just by going through those little details, coming up with a story. Had nothing to do with the video. The video wasn't even about vampires or anything. It was completely not. But it was enough to get my brain going and coming up with an entire story idea. The other thing you can do, especially if you're someone like me who does watch a lot of music videos, look at themes. A lot of videos, or at least, I can't say that. The ones I watch tend to have overarching stories and themes. Self-identity, even mythology plays a lot in some of the recent ones I've watched. Freedom of self versus these social norms, those sort of things. And you could take those themes and build stories to explore them. What you really want to focus on is using these as jumping points to get your mind thinking about what you could do. It's about exploration and just getting those ideas flowing. You'd be amazed if you actually pay attention to what's going on other than right in front, that surface level, that what you can find. And finally, the last place I get my ideas is shallow, and I'm not afraid to admit it. Just add magic. Add magic or the supernatural to something, and it'll be a thing. One of the stories I actually, and I'll probably get into it on another video. I had a story that I was working on for the better part of my late years of high school into college. And yes, you've noticed the theme of series of books. The series was called Pixies and Princes. And really, it was just a historical romance, which wasn't that interesting to me at the time. So what did I do? I added fairies and magic. That worked. That made everything better. I was suddenly real interested in that story. It sounds cliche, and yes, in a lot of ways it is, but adding magic to what would otherwise be a very standard topic can really just make everything far more interesting. A detective story, and suddenly the detective is psychic. Or a doctor who is a vampire, or pretty much anything and add some form of supernatural. And suddenly you have to start thinking of things outside of the norm. You know, the Vampire Doctor one, which, if any of you watch K-dramas, you already know what I'm thinking of. You already know. But now he can't deal with things in the normal human way. He has to work around what is intrinsically vampiric and still do a job. The psychic detective, he may know things, but now he has to prove it. Even if you just use it as a starting point and then come up with something far more interesting to you later, it's a starting point. That is where I get a lot of my ideas. Let me know in the comments where you get your ideas from. Maybe you have a unique place that you get ideas. Maybe you get it from books. Who knows? Share with us all. Where do you get your ideas? And I will see you in my next video. Bye!